Hello, my name is Patrick and this is CodeExpect channel. I want to show you how you can quickly and easy create a new environment for Magento 2 development and also how you can install a fresh instance of Magento inside of this environment. To do this, we can use a tool called Warden. And this is by far one of the best tools that I've been using while developing Magento 2. It helps a lot when you need to switch between different projects with different versions of services. Let me show you how we can install it and also how we can use it. In order to use Warden, we need to have Docker on our MacBook. So if you do not have it, please go to the Docker documentation and install the correct version for your MacBook. If you already have it, then you can go to the Warden page and copy the first command, which is brew install. Let's go to the console and paste the command. I've already been using Warden, so I will just directly go and run command warden help, which will list available commands. The first one is SVC, which stands for services, and this one is needed for running the global services that has to be run before configuration of any environment. So let's run this command warden svc up, and we will get back to the documentation to see what the global services are. So we will go to the Warden documentation, to the global services section, and here the first one is traffic and is responsible for routing requests into correct containers. Portainer is disabled by default, so we don't need to worry about it. DNS mask helps managing DNS inside of our local environment, so you don't need to change etc host configuration. And the last one, Mailhawk, it's helpful for testing emails because it catches all emails that were sent from your environment. If your global services are running, we can install our new Magento 2 environment. So to do this, we'll go to the environment and installing Magento 2 section. What we need to do in the first step, let's create a project directory. So let's get back to our console, create a new directory. Let's go to this directory and then we can run warden env init. The first argument is the name of the project, and the second one is the type of the project, which in our case is Magento 2. We can copy the command and paste it here. Let's just change the name to the Magento. Once it's done, we can list files and we can see that there is a configuration file called .env. Let's open it. And here there are a couple of configuration sections. The first section is responsible for the name and the type of the project. So in our case, the name is Magento and type is Magento 2. Second section is the configuration of a traffic domain. So our Magento will be available on the app.magento.test domain. We will see it later. The next section is the configuration of services that we want to have in our environment. So for sure we want to database, but for example, Elasticsearch is not needed because in the latest Magento version, it was deprecated and replaced with OpenSearch. So Elasticsearch is put as 0 and OpenSearch as 1, which means OpenSearch is enabled and Elasticsearch is disabled. Next section contains versions of those services that we want to have. So what is the OpenSearch version, what is the PHP version, and for example Redis version. So we can change any of these values to create different Docker containers. Other sections are responsible for configuration of other services like Blackfire or Selenium. We can split our database to the sales and checkout databases, and also if you want to use integration tests, you can use the test database, so you can just enable this variable. We don't need to change anything inside of this file, so let's just close it. And let's back to the documentation, and let's run the next comment, which is Warden sign certificate, and the argument is the name of our project, and also .test, which is the domain. So Warden site certificate, let's change it to Magento.test. Warden will create a new certificate, and then it will register it inside of traffic. Once it's done, we can run the next comment, which is Warden env app. Env stands for environment, so with this comment we can create our environment. So let's run it. Warden asks Docker for help, and it creates new volumes, new containers for the correct versions of our services. And then at the end there is a synchronization session, so you can see here that the Mutagen session was created. And what is Mutagen? Mutagen is a tool which synchronizes the local files of your computer with the files inside of the Docker container. Once it's done, we can go and run the next command, which is Warden shell, which helps to connect inside of the Docker container with the PHP and also with the container that the Magento will be located. So let's run it, Warden shell. And yeah, we are inside of a Docker container where our Magento will be stored. And that's the end. That's so simple to create a new environment with Warden. Also in the documentation, there is how to install Magento. So we will get back there and install Magento to see how easy is also installing Magento in Warden. Let's go to the documentation and let's create a configuration for Composer. So let's run this command, composer global config. But in order to run it, we need to have access keys. So we need to go to the account of Adobe and to the section access keys. We'll create a new access key right here. So let's name it Magento test keys. No white space. Okay, so just Magento. The first public key is the first argument and the private key is the second argument. Let's run it. Let's get back to the documentation and configure meta package and meta version variables. So let's copy that and paste it. Meta package so is the name of the GitHub project, so Magento project community edition, and meta version is the version of Magento. So we'll use the latest one, which is 2.4.6. Let's run it. And then we can copy the next comment, which is composer create project. So we'll use those variables that we defined above. And you can see here that the localization of the project is TMP example project. So we will just run it. And later we will just move the TMP example project content to var www.html, which is the root of the Docker container, of this container. Let's wait until it's finished. It's done on my end, so let's switch it back and copy the rsync comment, run it. Then in the meantime we can copy the next command to remove the example project directory, which is not needed. And now we can install Magento using bin Magento setup install command. So let's copy that and paste it here. There is no need to change any configuration at all. It's all predefined in the Warden environment. So let's just run it. And let's wait until Magento is installed. It's done. So the last step is to configure application. So also we will just copy the command that is defined in the documentation of Warden. We'll paste it. And what it does, it creates some configuration for example, base URL. It enables the developer mode, and then reindex and flush the cache. If that's done on your end, we can get back to browser and we can go to the app.magento.test. Okay, certification didn't work for me, but normally it should work for you. So I will just open it into unsafe mode. And yeah, Magento was installed correctly. We can go to the backend URL to see admin panel. I really hope this was helpful for you, and from now on you will use Warden to develop Magento. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one.